All right, let's jump right in.
Sounds good.
Today, we're taking a deep dive into Tesla,
Okay.
but specifically their autonomous driving ambitions
Ah,
and how that could impact their value.
right.
You know, you sent us some really interesting sources for this deep dive.
Okay.
An audio clip kind of discussing analyst predictions and Tesla's competitive landscape.
Uh-huh.
We even have a suggestive title here, hinting at some insights from Cathie Wood.
Oh, interesting.
You know, the tech investor with a reputation for,
Bold predictions.
bold predictions.
That's right.
So we'll be looking at how robotaxis could maybe make Tesla insanely profitable,
Mm-hmm.
different ways they could cash in on that,
Okay.
and just how far ahead Tesla is compared to traditional car manufacturers.
You know what I find fascinating is how these sources are really painting a picture of Tesla evolving from just a car company into a full-fledged transportation titan.
Yeah.
And the key driver of this transformation, and I think we can all agree, is autonomous driving and robotaxis.
So let's break this down. The audio clip mentions Cathie Wood, and she predicts that analysts will soon start factoring in robotaxis when they evaluate Tesla's worth.
Right.
I mean, that's a pretty big deal.
It is. It is.
What do you think?
I think she's suggesting a fundamental shift in how we think about and perceive Tesla. If their autonomous driving technology truly takes off.
Right.
They're not just selling you a car anymore.
Yeah,
They're selling a transportation service.
that's true.
And that changes the profit game completely.
So let's talk money.
All right.
How would this robotaxi thing actually turn into profits for Tesla?
Well, the audio clip actually lays out two potential models.
Okay.
First, there's the customer-owned vehicle scenario. So imagine you own a Tesla.
Yeah.
And when you're not using it,
Right.
it could become a robotaxi, picking up passengers
Right.
and earning you money.
Cool.
Tesla would then take a cut of those fares, estimated to be around 30%.
So it's like a ride-sharing platform,
Exactly.
but with your own car.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
They actually gave an example.
Oh, okay.
If a customer-owned robotaxi drives the average 70,000 miles a year, which is about what a typical taxi does,
Yeah.
Tesla could potentially pocket an extra $42,000 per year from that one car.
Wow.
Just from one car.
That's a lot more than just selling the car once.
Right.
It kind of makes you wonder if people would even buy a Tesla outright anymore,
Yeah.
or just lease it out as a robotaxi.
Interesting thought.
Okay, what about the other model?
So the second model involves Tesla operating its own fleet of robotaxis.
Okay.
And they even mentioned the Cybertruck as a potential candidate for this.
Really?
Yeah.
I could see that.
The key difference here is that without having to pay human drivers,
Right.
the profit margins just skyrocket.
Okay.
The audio clip suggests that they could exceed 60%,
Wow.
potentially generating $85,000 in profit per vehicle annually.
Hold on. So you're saying each robotaxi could rake in close to $1 million over a decade?
Potentially, yeah.
They weren't kidding when they called it the $1 million robotaxi.
Yeah, it's a catchy name.
But how realistic is all of this?
Mhm.
Are we really talking about a future where Teslas are just driving themselves around, picking up passengers,
Yeah.
making a ton of money for Tesla and their owners?
I mean, it does seem like something out of a sci-fi movie,
Right.
but the pieces are starting to fall into place.
Yeah.
Remember, Tesla's already collecting massive amounts of real-world driving data from its existing fleet of vehicles.
That's true.
And this data is gold for their AI development, allows them to refine those algorithms, improve their autonomous driving system
Right.
at a pace that traditional automakers are struggling to match.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
And the audio clip also highlighted how legacy car makers are scrambling to catch up.
Yeah.
They even mentioned Honda and Nissan potentially exploring a merger.
A merger, wow.
That sounds pretty desperate, right?
Yeah, it's definitely raising some eyebrows.
Yeah.
This potential merger. I think it's being viewed as a last-ditch effort to pool resources and compete with Tesla
Yeah.
in this EV and autonomous driving space.
In this space.
They're facing an uphill battle, to say the least.
And it's not just about catching up on the tech itself.
Right.
There's also a cultural shift that needs to happen
Yeah.
for robotaxis to become mainstream.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, are people really ready to trust a car to drive them around without a human behind the wheel?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
It's one thing to have the technology, but it's another to have people feel safe and comfortable using it.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how public perception evolves as this technology matures and becomes more commonplace.
It feels like we're at a tipping point.
Yeah.
So What does all this mean for the future of transportation?
Okay.
Are we all going to be riding in robotaxis 5 years from now?
Well, predicting the future is always a risky business,
True.
but the trajectory is clear.
Mm-hmm.
The potential impact of robotaxis is huge.
Huh.
Imagine cities with fewer traffic jams, parking lots transformed into parks,
Yeah.
a transportation system that's more accessible and affordable for everyone.
It almost sounds too good to be true.
Right.
But let's be real for a moment. Are there any potential downsides to all this?
Sure.
What of the people whose jobs rely on driving?
You're right to raise those concerns.
Yeah?
The transition to a world with widespread autonomous driving
Yeah.
won't be without its challenges.
Right.
The potential impact on employment is a major one.
Yeah.
And then there are the ethical considerations, like who's responsible if a robotaxi gets into an accident.
Those are some heavy questions.
They are.
It feels like we're on the cusp of a transportation revolution.
Yeah.
And it's not just about technology, it's about rethinking our entire approach
Exactly.
to how we move around in the world.
It really is fascinating.
All right, I'm already feeling like my brain is in overdrive with all of this.
I hear you.
We've covered a lot of ground so far,
Hmm.
from Kathy Wood's predictions to the different robo-taxi models, the
Mhm.
challenges faced by traditional automakers.
Yeah,
But there's still so much more to explore.
there is.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not just about Tesla.
Right.
We need to look at the broader landscape of autonomous driving, different approaches being explored, and the ethical considerations of AI.
Okay, I'm ready to dive deeper.
Let's do it.
Where do we go from here?
Well, let's zoom out a bit. And look at the different approaches to autonomous driving.
Okay.
Tesla, as we've discussed, is heavily reliant on AI and real-world data. They're using a technique called end-to-end learning.
End-to-end learning.
Yeah, where the AI essentially learns to drive by analyzing massive amounts of driving data collected from their cars.
So how does that work? What's the advantage of that?
Think of it like this.
Go ahead.
Imagine teaching someone to ride a bike
Okay.
by simply letting them watch hours of footage of people riding bikes and then letting them figure it out themselves through trial and error.
Oh, wow.
That's essentially what Tesla's doing with their AI.
Really?
It's a risky bet, but it seems to be paying off.
So they're basically throwing their AI into the deep end and letting it learn to swim.
Exactly.
That's pretty different from what other companies are doing, right?
Absolutely.
How so?
Many other companies are taking a more structured approach,
Okay.
relying on detailed maps and pre-programmed rules.
Mhm.
It's a more cautious approach,
Yeah.
but it might not be as adaptable or scalable in the long run.
So it's like Tesla's betting on the AI to become a truly intuitive driver,
Right.
while others are trying to program every possible scenario into their systems.
That's a great way to put it.
Huh.
And this difference in approach is reflected in their testing strategies as well.
Okay.
Tesla's collecting data from millions of miles driven by real people in real-world conditions.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's a huge advantage.
And that data is what's feeding their AI
Exactly.
and making it smarter. Yeah. Seems like they're way ahead of the game.
They certainly have a head start. But remember, technology evolves rapidly.
Right.
What seems insurmountable today could be commonplace tomorrow.
That's true.
There are other companies like Waymo and Cruise.
Mm-hmm.
They're making significant progress with their own autonomous driving systems.
It's like a race to the future,
It is.
and everyone's trying to get there first.
Yeah.
But let's go back to Tesla for a moment.
Okay.
We talked about robotaxis
Right.
and their potential to revolutionize transportation.
Mm-hmm.
But haven't they also been talking about something even more ambitious?
Like what?
A robotaxi network.
They have.
Yeah.
This is where things get really fascinating.
Okay.
Imagine a decentralized system where anyone who owns a Tesla
Right.
could potentially add their car to the network, earn income while they're not using it.
So like my car could become part of a giant Tesla-powered taxi fleet.
Essentially. Yes.
That's wild.
It's a very ambitious idea.
But how would that even work?
The details are still being worked out,
Yeah.
but the basic idea is that you could opt in to make your Tesla available as a robotaxi
Okay.
during certain times
Okay.
when someone requests a ride.
Mm-hmm.
The system would dispatch the nearest available Tesla to pick them up.
So it's like Airbnb,
Yeah,
but for cars.
exactly.
That's actually pretty brilliant.
It is an interesting concept.
But let's not forget, this all hinges on the technology working flawlessly.
Right.
What happens if there's a glitch?
Yeah.
A malfunction?
Bruh.
Who's responsible if a robotaxi gets into an accident?
Those are crucial questions.
Yeah.
And they get to the heart of the ethical considerations surrounding autonomous driving,
Right.
Who is liable in case of an accident?
Yeah.
The owner of the car,
Hmm.
the passenger, Tesla itself.
Yeah.
These are complex legal and ethical issues
Yeah.
that society will need to grapple with as this technology becomes more widespread.
And it's not just about liability. There are also concerns about data privacy and security.
Of course.
These robotaxis will be collecting a lot of information about our movements,
Absolutely.
travel patterns.
Uh-huh.
Who has access to that data?
Yeah.
How is it being used?
You're raising some important points.
Yeah.
As with any new technology, there are potential downsides and risks that need to be carefully considered.
Right.
The key is to strike a balance between innovation and responsible development,
Yeah.
ensuring that these advancements benefit society as a whole, not just a select few.
It feels like we're entering uncharted territory here.
It does, doesn't it?
We're not just talking about a new car or a new app.
Right.
We're talking about a potential paradigm shift in how we live,
Yeah.
work, and interact with the world around us.
That's what makes this so captivating.
It is.
We're witnessing the birth of a new era in transportation.
Yeah.
And it's filled with both incredible promise and daunting challenges.
Yeah.
But one thing is for sure, it's going to be a wild ride.
Speaking of wild rides,
Yeah.
I can't help but think back to that quote from Elon Musk.
Which one?
Second place should need a telescope to see us.
Ah, yes.
It seems like he really believes that Tesla is going to dominate this space.
There's no doubt that Musk has a grand vision for Tesla.
Yeah,
And he's never been shy about expressing his ambition.
he has it.
But whether Tesla ultimately becomes the undisputed leader in autonomous driving
Right.
remains to be seen.
Yeah.
The competition is fierce,
Mhm.
and the stakes are incredibly high.
This whole conversation has really made me think about the future of transportation in a new light.
Yeah.
It's not just about getting from point A to point B anymore.
Yeah.
It's about reimagining the entire experience.
Yeah.
And the possibilities seem endless.
They do.
But it's also clear that there are some tough questions
Mm-hmm.
that need to be answered before we fully embrace this autonomous future.
Absolutely.
And it's not just up to companies like Tesla to figure this out.
Right.
It's a conversation that needs to involve policymakers.
Ethicists,
For sure.
and the public at large.
The choices we make today will shape the world of tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it's crucial that we make them wisely.
Okay, so we've explored the different approaches to autonomous driving,
Mm-hmm.
the potential of a robotaxi network,
Okay.
and the ethical considerations that come with all of this.
Uh-huh.
But there's one piece of the puzzle that we haven't touched on yet,
What's that?
the impact on the environment.
That's a critical aspect of this conversation.
It is.
After all, one of the main arguments for electric vehicles and autonomous driving is that they can help reduce our carbon footprint,
Right.
create a
Yeah.
more sustainable future.
But is that really the case?
Well,
I mean, won't more cars on the road,
yeah.
even if they're electric,
Uh-huh.
lead to more congestion
Yeah.
and ultimately more energy consumption?
That's a valid concern.
Yeah.
The environmental impact of autonomous driving is complex.
Okay.
Depends on a lot of factors. It's
Right.
not just about the vehicles themselves.
But also how they're used
Mm-hmm.
and how the transportation system as a whole is designed.
So it's not a guaranteed win for the environment.
It's not as simple as that.
Okay.
If robotaxis lead to more people opting out of public transportation
Yeah.
or choosing to live further away from their jobs,
Right.
it could actually increase our overall environmental footprint.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, if they're used efficiently as part of a well-planned and integrated transportation system,
Yeah.
they could contribute to a more sustainable future.
This is definitely a lot to think about.
It is.
We've gone from talking about million-dollar robotaxis
Uh-huh.
to the fate of the planet.
It's all connected, isn't it?
It is.
The decisions we make about transportation have ripple effects that extend far beyond the automotive industry.
Yeah.
They impact our cities, our environment, and ultimately our way of life.
Well, I think we've given our listener a lot to chew on today.
Wow.
Yeah, it really is a lot to consider.
It is.
So, before we wrap up this deep dive,
Mhm.
I want to circle back to Tesla for a second.
Okay.
And their role in all of this.
Yeah,
It's pretty remarkable
it is.
how they've managed to disrupt the entire automotive industry
For sure.
and just push the boundaries of technology.
They have.
It's like they've gone from being this niche electric car maker to a global player
Yeah,
in such a short amount of time.
it's true.
It's pretty impressive.
They've challenged conventional thinking,
Yeah.
taken risks
Mm-hmm.
that others just weren't willing to take.
And they've had success doing it,
They have.
And let's not forget that this all started with their focus on electric vehicles.
Right.
It's almost like they were playing chess where everyone else was playing checkers.
I like that analogy.
They saw the potential of EVs early on,
Yeah.
and they invested heavily in building the infrastructure and the technology to make them mainstream.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't just set out to build a better car.
Right.
They set out to change the game entirely. And in doing so, they kind of created this ripple effect that's transforming the entire industry.
But it hasn't been all smooth sailing, right?
No, of course not.
I mean, they faced challenges, setbacks along the way.
Any company that's pushing the boundaries of innovation is going to encounter obstacles.
That's true.
But what sets Tesla apart is their resilience and their ability to learn and adapt.
I think you're right.
They've made mistakes, but they've also shown this remarkable capacity to course correct and keep moving forward.
And it seems like their willingness to embrace unconventional approaches extends beyond just their technology, their business model, their marketing strategies, even their leadership style.
Right. It's all a bit different.
It is. It is.
That's part of what makes them so fascinating to watch.
It is.
They're not afraid to break the mold, challenge the status quo. Whether you love them or hate them, there's no denying they're a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah. They're forced to be reckoned with.
They are.
And they've definitely forced everyone else in the industry to step up their game.
Absolutely.
The legacy automakers.
Yeah.
They can no longer afford to sit back and watch from the sidelines.
No, they can't.
Tesla's raised the bar.
They have.
And now everyone is scrambling to catch up.
It's true.
But even with all the competition,
Yeah.
Tesla still seems to have this certain mystique, a certain aura of innovation that sets them apart.
Yeah.
Do you think that's sustainable in the long run?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
It's hard to say for sure.
Yeah.
But I think a lot will depend on their ability to continue to innovate and deliver on their promises. They've set some ambitious goals, particularly in the realm of autonomous driving.
Yeah.
If they can achieve those goals, I think they'll be in a very strong position.
It's definitely exciting to think about what the future holds.
It is.
For Tesla and for the automotive industry as a whole.
The whole landscape.
This deep dive has been a real eye-opener for me.
It has for me too.
And I'm sure our listener feels the same way.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
But there's still so much more to explore.
Always.
Well, on that note,
I
think it's time to wrap up this deep dive.
Yes.
We've journeyed from the nuts and bolts of robotaxis to the broader implications of autonomous driving. You know, for society, the economy, the environment.
All very important topics.
It's been a wild ride.
It has.
And I want to thank you, our resident expert, for guiding us through it all.
My pleasure.
It's always great having you on.
Likewise.
To our listener, we hope you found this deep dive as fascinating and thought-provoking as we did.
I hope so.
Keep those questions coming.
Yeah, send them in.
And be sure to join us next time as we delve into another cutting-edge topic. Until then, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep those wheels turning.
See you next time.